Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Sylvia Banderas, General Manager of Marketing Equity and Inclusion Partnerships at Vox Media. That's Vox with a V. And I am so happy to get to moderate today's fireside chat with the incomparable Denisse. I also have to say I'm going to be a little indulgent and point out that this is the first time in my career that I get to sit next to and moderate a conversation with a fellow Mexicana from Guadalajara, Jalisco. And that makes me so thrilled. Thank you for this. So I really believe in defining ourselves for ourselves, especially in moments like this where we get to introduce ourselves to a larger group. So in that spirit, Denisse, would you please, for yourself, introduce us to who you are and what you do?
Yes, of course. Thank you so much, Sylvia and Brand Innovators for the invitation. So I'm Denisse Guerra. I am a very proud Mexican, born and raised in Guadalajara by two amazing parents that taught me a lot of what I am right now, the value of hard work, of positive thinking, of pursuing my dreams and go discover the world. I studied marketing in Mexico. I had the possibility to travel as a student to many places in the world to discover different cultures. And I started my career at Nike Mexico in consumer insights, which I still believe it's my best school whatsoever in terms of, as a marketeer, to start your career, because Nike is such a consumer-first company that it's an amazing school. I had several positions in marketing in Nike, and then I decided to accept a position that was offered to me in the beauty giant Estee Lauder companies many years ago. To be honest, beauty and working in beauty for me was like a dream come true. So I was starting to realize all of my dreams there. I started in their Mexico affiliate in marketing positions, first in product, then in marketing strategy, trade marketing. So I kind of like went all over the marketing areas in Estee Lauder Mexico. Then they gave me the chance to drive the marketing strategy for Latin America. Still based in Mexico, but I was able to discover Latin America and how Latins, we are so similar, yet so different in terms of when it comes to beauty, especially women. From there, I was able to move to New York, which was another dream come true for me 6 years ago. And I transitioned from marketing to general management. I think that marketing will always be, I am a marketeer by heart, but now I have the opportunity to see the 360 of the brands and the 360 of the business. So 13 years after I started in Estee Lauder, I'm still here, now managing the business for Estee Lauder and Clinique for Latin America.
Wow, that's an illustrious career. I want to ground our conversation today in innovation in beauty specifically, given your focus, Denisse. In 2022, the world's idea of beauty has just changed tremendously when it comes to being more all-encompassing, more inclusive, catering their products to all colors, all genders, all ages, and breaking away with old beauty beliefs. The industry is also making huge strides. I mean, our former conversation revolved all around purpose. And there's been a lot of change that's so welcomed around being more ethical, greener, sustainable, and really being conscious of how consumers are thinking about their own carbon footprint. And innovation, finally, in some brands really taking a leap and going into the metaverse and thinking about creating these immersive experiences for consumers in new genres for media. But Denisse, for you, coming from the Estee Lauder companies as a home to some of the most legendary beauty brands in the industry, can you share specifically about innovation in your role as it pertains to your portfolio, and specifically what you're most excited about that you're working on now?
Yeah, sure. So innovation, just as starters, is like the basic description, of course, and we all know it's to do something new, a new process, a new idea. But I think innovation in beauty can come in many different ways. And I don't think that it's only in beauty. I think in many businesses. In beauty, it comes, of course, through discovering new technologies, research, working in our labs to understand what are to kind of like translate the needs of our consumers into new technologies, finding the best ingredients, the most potent ingredients. So that is the innovation that we normally know from beauty, which is completely true, and one of the things that I think Estee Lauder companies does amazingly. But there's also a lot of other type of innovations that sometimes are a little bit less talked about, which are commercial innovations, or how like beauty brands like Estee Lauder or Clinique, the brands that I have that have more than 70 years in the market, can innovate in communicating our products with different angles, with different, like using, like what we were speaking right outside here. Estee Lauder has a product that has been there for 40 years, and it's still the #1 serum sold because it's still relevant to the conversation of consumers right now. So there's a way to innovate as well in how do you communicate, the angle of communication that you take for your product, the new benefits that are relevant in the moment. So you have to listen to the consumer in order to be able to innovate in what they are looking for as well, like to innovate assertively, to bring value to the consumer. There's also a way to innovate to exemplify some of this innovation. For example, before I go to the next type of innovation, is there is a Estee Lauder new product, for example, an eye cream. It is targeted to reduce dark circles. Right. It has always been relevant, but now it has renovated technology, and for Latin America, for example, that is the main concern of the consumer. So it will be more relevant if I innovate in the way I communicate it to Latinas than what the regional team in Asia is going to do, because probably it's not as relevant there. So it's also a way on innovating on your point of view of communication.
Yeah, that's excellent. You actually beat me to the punch. That was my next question. So thank you for that, because it is really all about how do these innovations translate in your communications. So thank you for that. Tell us about your innovation impact. What brings out the innovator in you? And more importantly, there's such a difference between as a leader, being innovative as a leader, and innovating through, or more importantly, what does innovative leadership mean to you?
So, well, what brings innovation within me? I've always been a very curious person since the beginning of my life. Since I was a kid, I always liked to ask a lot of questions. And as I mentioned before, my career started in consumer insights. Yes. So consumer insights is a world in which you could get lost in terms of asking questions and getting to know deeper and deeper and deeper the fibers of the consumer and what really moves them. So I think that to me and for me, that was a great way to become an innovative leader. I really like to understand what is happening in the deep fibers of a consumer, what is their need, to be able to bring something that adds value. I also think that innovative leadership comes in a way of having diverse teams, because I believe that I won't be able to know everything by myself or somebody else who is bringing something into the table. It is much more innovative when we see it from different angles, from different cultures, different backgrounds, and that also working in Latin America for the globe, it also brings, I think, this part of me of being able to bring back what Latinos are thinking and being able to push it into these global brands that sometimes need a little bit of push to be able to innovate and to be super inclusive in all of the products and communication that they do.
I love that. How does specifically having a focus in Latin America translate to innovations in, say, your North American counterparts? Like, I'd love to learn, for example, if seeing those trends play out in Latin America has then informed strategy in North America and vice versa.
Yeah. So I always speak about this example that I told you before when we were talking about Mother's Day, for example. Yeah. So Mother's Day, it's somehow big here in the US, but it's huge in Latin America. Emotionally, traditionally, our mother is like our God. And so it translates into very big amount of sales during Mother's Day in Latin America, here as well, but in Latin America, even more. It's almost to the size of Christmas. So when we were trying to do Estee Lauder as a global brand, for Mother's Day, we do a lot of promotions, but we had never been able to touch the emotional fibers of these. Actually, the brands are very, very big in legacy and in heritage. So what we have been doing in Latin America is to bring this to the table and say, this is an amazing opportunity for sales, but it's an amazing opportunity to tell the story of this brand, that it's a legacy brand, and to create a more emotional campaign that will not normally be just promotional sets to sell, but will actually be able to tell a story of how a daughter is using something that the mother and the grandmother give to them, and that is a way in which you will want to buy the product because you feel connected to the product in an emotional way. So this is what we had been sharing with the North America team, and as we were also mentioning, probably it won't be as relevant in the middle of the United States, but in California, in the East, where we have so many Latinos, it's super relevant, and they have done those shifts and seen increase in sales because it touches fibers, and it really, like, it's an opportunity, commercial opportunity as well, of course.
Very cool. Great example. I can certainly say I feel that way whenever I look at Clinique. That little yellow bottle just screams mommy and comfort. Can you share what are 3 traits that harness how you create an innovative mindset?
Well, I think, first of all, I think curiosity. I think that learning or wanting to know what the consumer wants, it's super important. So I go back to my consumer insight roots. I think innovation needs to add value to something. Of course, you can bring something completely new to the table, and that is great, but you need to be curious about what is happening around you. What are the trends that are happening? What is the consumer saying? What are these hidden things that sometimes consumers don't even tell you, but that can bring a lot of innovation? I think being creative as well, it's super important, because out of like, okay, you listen to what the consumer is saying, but then you need to sparkle your creativity to be able to innovate and to be as well bringing new communication, new narrative into the table. And then, as I mentioned before, I think that having inclusive and diverse teams, it's key, because I think that is what it's going to end up, to be honest, bringing the most complete and innovative ideas to the table, for sure.
Just avoiding groupthink alone is so important. That's a wonderful answer. Thank you. Denise, we're almost going to be wrapping up. And for me, it's so important to ask you this question and end on a more personal note, on a more human note. I'd love for you to tell me about what motivates you from your why, your purpose. We talked a little bit about this, but I'd love for you to share some of the beautiful narrative that you shared with me, because I thought it was just so special.
Thank you. Yeah, so, well, I thank you for asking the question. I think that, and I am super grateful that I have had so many opportunities in my professional career, personal career, that at this point of my life, I just want to like pay it forward. I want to be able to help young professionals, and especially women, and especially Latin women, to be able to achieve or to pursue their dreams, or to achieve their dreams. Such as, like, sometimes at certain point of my career, some people gave me the opportunity, and I want to do the same with young professionals, especially women. I am super proud of working in a company right now that was founded by a woman, that is 80% women, and that it's empowering women inside of the company and outside of the company to be their better self. So I think that for me, that it's super important to participate in mentoring programs, in helping these women, especially women around in the US, Latin women in the US, but also in Latin America, which is where I actually work my day to day. to be able to achieve their dreams, to be able to be prepared for the opportunity and to believe that they can do it and that they can achieve whatever they want. So to continue empowering women, it's my personal why.
Helping the next generation of beauty innovators.
Exactly.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Denise. That was so beautiful. Yes, let's give her a big hand. I'd love to open up the floor for questions, if anybody has any for Denise. I know we're just so close to the happy hour, so I get it. I really do. Yes, we have a question.
I cannot shout. Okay, you said you want to give back to women and in the professional career. Give us an inspiration, a concrete example of what you can do at Estee Lauder in promoting this.
Yeah. So at Estee Lauder, we have a lot of ERGs that are part of the company's culture. One is called the Hispanic Connections ERG. So in that ERG, what we do is we help Latin professionals within the company to be able to have mentorship time with management team around the company that are Latins as well. So for example, I am super proud of participating there. So every 6 months we get to create this group of mentees that are just starting in the company or are in the early stages of their career and that are Latin. So they either came from Latin America or they are Latin in the US, Latinx. And we have one-on-one time every 15 days to speak about their career, to help them grow, to help them choose their next steps, and especially to help them understand how diverse they are and what they can bring as the value to the company, because the company needs a lot of diversification inside to be able to propose and to give the best products to the consumer, that it's diverse proposal to all type of consumers. So having this team growing in the company, it's super important for us because they will be the next leaders, they will be the next decision takers in the company. So that's how we empower them inside the company. You're welcome.
Do we have more time? I wasn't sure if it was over at 4:30 or if you'd like me to continue. Oh boy, I'm so sorry. I misunderstood. I thought we were running late and I had to be done at 4:30, so I rushed through. In that case, I do have some fun questions and I would love to continue. Some rapid fire, I think fun questions like what are you reading right now? What are you listening to? And what are you watching?
Okay, so I am reading right now The Company I Built, which is from Lauder. They just gave it to me, and it's impressive to see the legacy of someone who has been so compromised to the beauty industry. So Leonard is basically telling the story because his mother wrote the book. Like Estee Lauder wrote a book, and he wrote this book that is telling how his mother built the company, but how he took the company to an international perspective. So it's super interesting. And at the same time, I'm watching this, and I'm very bad with names, but this series of the girl who created the company that was doing this analysis. What is it called? The analysis, like health analysis, and they were incorrect. So.
Oh, yes.
Theranos. Yes. So I'm watching that at the same time that I read this book. And the actual thing that I am finding interesting is how someone really compromised himself to do a huge empire out of really caring and empower women, and how someone is just doing it based on lies and based on something that it's not necessarily very honest. So I think I'm comparing these two, and it's being interesting.
That's on ego. That's exactly. Such a difference. Absolutely. Tell us about what are some of like your key beauty products that you think are particularly relevant from a innovation standpoint.
So the one that I always use, and I've been using since 13 years ago that I started in the company, is Advanced Night Repair. Probably some of you will know it, some of you will not. It's the brown bottle from Estee Lauder.
Yes.
It's a repair serum, and it has a lot of hyaluronic acid inside. So it's a repair serum that basically hydrates your skin to very, very deep tissues. And it also have antioxidants, etc. So I really think that advanced night repair, and I mentioned it before, has been in the market for 40 years and still is what it is because it really brings results. And everybody who tries it, and I've been doing the tests with family, with friends, everybody who tries it really falls in love with it. So I've been using that. So that is my go-to product. I cannot live without that one. But of course, there are many others. As a Latina, I have to, like, I do my makeup all the time. I cannot go out without my eyebrows, for example. Mm-hmm. Like, I can be without anything else but not the eyebrows. So I use Bobbi Brown eyebrow kit. The one thing that I will always say is that no matter which brand you use, I think one of the things that you need to do is to protect yourself from the sun. Absolutely. So I think that aging comes very related to being exposed to the sun. So when everybody asks me, what is your basic, is sun protection. Literally, if you don't want to use anything else, you need to use sun protection. And then from there, there's many, many things that I can tell you because my list is endless for beauty products.
Now that I was thinking back to some of our conversations, and I'm so sorry that we rushed through so much. I really thought, we're never going to get through any of these questions. And one of the questions I thought was so important that we talked about was innovation around when the pandemic happened, mm-hmm. and you really started to shift your model because of the skincare needs. Tell us a little bit about that and how you turned that into what has been a very successful e-commerce strategy. Yeah.
So actually, Estee Lauder brand in Latin America has never been as successful as during the pandemic because we grew a lot around skincare in particular. People were starting to look at themselves in Zoom and see the wrinkles and so they were not doing makeup, but they were trying to see their skin and to better their skin. Mm-hmm. So we took that we took that opportunity to be able to communicate our bestseller product. So the other thing is that we started to notice that consumers who normally are wanting to buy more indie brands because they want to try new things, mm-hmm. during the pandemic when they saw their budget cut and say, okay, now I cannot buy 5 products, I can buy 2 or 1. I will go back to the product that I know it works. And they came back to us. Because they knew that it works. Like probably somehow they managed to mix their portfolio, and we all do that. We have a lot of things, but you know which products you are never going to stop using because they work. So we saw a lot of people coming back to our brands. In particular, during the pandemic, I was managing Estee Lauder in particular. So we saw that. We saw a lot of coming back to our hero products. So we were able to put our money behind our hero products, our top sellers, like Advanced Night Repair family, let's say. And then we shifted our stores. We are still very much, we still rely a lot in brick and mortar in our brands. But at that moment, all stores were completely closed. Right. So we had to innovate in the way, and one of our main assets is our beauty advisors. So the one you go to the counter, they will explain you, they will put the product in your face. So we needed to innovate the way of doing it online. So we started with virtual selling with our beauty advisors. So they were all in their houses, but they were still wanting to sell. And they still have this warmth because they become like even psychologists of the consumers because they speak with them and they spend a lot of time with them. So we started to build a whole new channel, which is the virtual selling channel, in which they were doing lessons, they were doing one-on-one consultations, they had more time to speak with their consumers that they normally don't have when they are in the counter with 5 other consumers. So we shifted into investing in virtual selling, investing in these channels. In Latin America, WhatsApp is huge. So we started to use a lot that platform to communicate with consumers, communicate through catalogs, communicate our videos, our how-to videos. We started to do as well virtual selling with influencers. So the influencers selling for us because we didn't have the stores. And we shifted our online business from 4% to more than 30% during the pandemic because we were still very small, and in Latin America, online business is smaller than here. So we were able to shift that and to earn a lot of market share based on these very specific insights and innovating around them. So.
Wow. Thank you for that. And then the other question I wanted to ask you, I think one of the most interesting things about a legendary portfolio of brands like Lauder is that love of generations, right? And there's a lot of opportunity in that and a lot of beauty in what that means. But there's also a real challenge. Yeah. How do you keep something fresh, and how do you keep it relevant to various generations at once? So if you can tell us a little bit about, specifically through the lens of innovation, when you think of, like, say, a Clinique, you mentioned Mother's Day, and for me, something like a Clinique brings back those wonderful memories. And I would be the consumer that would walk into your, to a Macy's and see a beautiful display and immediately want to buy something for my mother. But how do you also connect to the daughter and the granddaughter? And tell us a little bit about, because I think as marketers, that's one of the most difficult ways to innovate, is to make a lot of messaging through a very specific lens of portfolios.
It's super challenging. A brand that has more than 70 years in the market needs to reinvent itself again and again. I think that we have been able to reinvent ourselves because we have been able to understand new media, new advocacy programs. Like, for example, as we speak right now, if I don't go through influencers, TikTokers, if I don't go into new platforms, if I don't have a different narrative, if I don't find these different angles of my products that are going to actually be interesting for a Gen Z versus a 60-year-old with the same product, I wouldn't be able to be relevant. If I didn't choose the correct ambassadors for my brand, the correct narrative, the correct sustainability programs. So I think that there are many, many things within your 360 that you need to take into consideration in order to be able to innovate with a brand. So, for instance, right now, for example, with Estee Lauder or with Clinique, we are a brand that mothers and grandmothers used, and that also an 18-year-old is using. So my communication and my choice of portfolio needs to be super different to speak to a Gen Z where she wants to, is taking care more of her basic routine or of her basic needs, than to someone who's talking about wrinkles and lines. And so we need to choose our portfolio. We need to speak with our media to understand very well what is the audience and how are we going to target them. And then the messages need to be really different and really cater to the different generations. But it's not easy because it's the same program, it's the same project, and it's the same product that is launching at the same time for all of these audiences. So we need to really try to innovate in there, but it's a challenge.
It is, but I feel like it's the rising phoenix of marketing innovation is really rooted very much in this concept and in beauty. And with that, I would again like to offer the opportunity for questions so that we can share that. Otherwise, I will stand away from being in place of the happy hour that's coming soon.
Thank you so much, Sylvia.
Thank you. Thank you so much.